Freedom, just saying the word, stirs up images of soaring eagles, endless open skies, and the freeing breath of a spirit unchained. But for many of us, true freedom feels like something out of reach, locked behind invisible walls made by our own fears. Not the kind of fear that comes from being physically caged, but a more subtle, yet more pervasive threat: the fear of conflict itself. It's a strange contradiction. We yearn for freedom, yet when that freedom demands we face disagreements or confrontations, we shrink back. We want to be genuine, speak our truths, and chase after what makes us happy. But the moment the road leads to conflict, discomfort, or disagreement, many of us pull away, preferring the quiet emptiness of avoidance. Friedrich Nietzsche, that fierce thinker who delved into willpower and human evolution, cut straight through this paradox. He understood that genuine freedom can't exist unless we have the courage to confront conflict head-on. In fact, nature itself shows us that freedom and conflict are inseparably. Only by embracing struggle can we shed illusions of safety and truly discover what it means to live as free individuals. As nature once put it, the snake that cannot shed its skin must die. Likewise, our minds that refuse to change or grow stagnate. They cease to be alive. Conflict in all its forms is the skin we need to shed. It challenges us, rattles our comfort zones, and pushes us to evolve. It acts as a catalyst that helps our minds and spirits break free from their old limitations. Think about times when you've truly grown. Was it during calm, uneventful days when everything was smooth sailing, or during turbulent storms that forced you to stand your ground? Growth often demands tension. It requires us to question assumptions and fight for our beliefs. Growth is born from discomfort, from disagreement, and from facing opposition directly. But fear often whispers the opposite. Stay quiet, it says. Don't stir the waters. Avoid the fight. This fear is deeply human and understandable. Conflict can hurt, cause rejection, and bring uncertainty. Yet, it's that very fear that keeps us locked in a cage of passivity and illusion. We mistake avoiding conflict for peace, but in doing so, we sacrifice our freedom. To break free from this trap, we need to see conflict differently, not as a threat, but as a vital companion to our freedom. We must begin viewing conflict as a mirror that reflects our true desires, boundaries, and values. It's in conflict that we claim our individuality and affirm our right to live authentically. Throughout this journey, I'll share 6 key ways that leaning into conflict can help you free yourself from the chains of fear and limitation. Each point reveals a different aspect of growth, showing how conflict sharpens your character, broadens your freedom, and ultimately leads to a deeper, more genuine life. This isn't about glorifying chaos or unnecessary fighting. It's about understanding that the path to true freedom always crosses through the terrain of conflict, like a hero who overcomes himself and society's limitations. You too can transcend fear and claim your freedom by courageously embracing conflict. If you're ready to break free and live boldly, don't skip any part of this video. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, because this journey deserves all your attention and commitment. And before we jump into the first point, drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose freedom by facing conflict. First, conflict as a mirror to your authentic self. When conflict arises, most people feel uneasy, an emotional roller coaster of fear, anger, confusion. The instinct is to avoid it, smooth things over, and hold onto the fragile peace. But what if I told you that conflict is actually a powerful mirror that reveals who you really are? Through conflict, you can uncover your deepest values, boundaries, and desires. The philosopher Nicola believed that self-knowledge is the foundation of freedom. Without it, you're trapped by external influences and internal illusions. He urged us to become who you are. But how can we do that without facing the conflicts that challenge our sense of identity? Conflict strips away superficial layers, politeness, social masks, conditioned responses. It demands that we confront our true emotions and beliefs. When someone disagrees with us, challenges us, or pokes at our insecurities, it's a moment of truth. We're forced to ask ourselves, what do I really think? What do I truly want? Where do my limits lie? Imagine a situation where a friend criticizes you unfairly. Your initial impulse might be to brush it off, stay silent, or agree just to keep the peace. But if you lean into that discomfort and ask yourself why that criticism hurts, you might discover hidden fears or unmet needs for respect. Conflict becomes a doorway and entry point into understanding yourself better. When you use conflict as a tool for self-awareness, it stops feeling threatening and starts feeling freeing. You gain clarity about your core values and boundaries, an essential step toward genuine freedom. The psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Conflict exposes those unconscious forces or fears, biases, wounds so that we can confront and understand them. Facing conflict consciously allows us to take control of our lives instead of being driven by hidden emotions. Avoiding conflict keeps us in a fog cut off from who we truly are. Embracing conflict means stepping into the light of awareness and owning our identity. This is why conflict, rather than being a curse, is a necessary fire that forges the self. So, here's your first step toward freedom. Next time conflict arises, resist the urge to run or hide. Instead, ask yourself, what is this conflict showing me about who I am? Use it as an opportunity to clarify your values, reinforce your boundaries, and take ownership of your true self. It's not easy. It takes courage to face uncomfortable truths. But each honest confrontation builds a stronger foundation of self-awareness, and that foundation supports authentic freedom. Moving on, point 2. Conflict as the engine of personal growth. Conflict is uncomfortable, no doubt about it. It shakes up the stuff we think we know, threatens our sense of security, and challenges our carefully built realities. Because of this, many people avoid conflict at all costs, believing it's destructive or harmful. But nature saw it differently. It understood that conflict is the spark that ignites transformation and evolution. Imagine a sculptor working tirelessly on a rough block of marble. Without resistance, the marble remains shapeless and raw. It's the chisel that, often harsh and relentless, that reveals the beauty hidden inside. Conflict is like that chisel for our inner world. It chips away old beliefs, complacency, and illusions of comfort, exposing the strength and potential underneath. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche famously said, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." That's not just a catchy phrase, it's a profound truth about human growth. Every conflict, whether internal doubts or external disagreements, pushes us beyond our limits. It forces us to adapt, learn, and become more resilient. Think about times when life threw you a curveball, difficult conversations, disagreements, or even harsh feedback. These moments often cause us to rethink our assumptions and develop new skills: patience, assertiveness, empathy, resilience that we wouldn't have learned otherwise. Conflict stretches us beyond our comfort zone and invites us to grow into more capable, nuanced individuals. But here's the thing. Growth through conflict isn't automatic. It requires a mindset shift. You have to see conflict not as a threat but as an opportunity for self-improvement. That's the brave perspective. It's accepting that pain, struggle, and discomfort are part of the journey to freedom. If you view conflict as a threat or something to avoid, you'll miss out on its transformative power. Instead, recognize that real freedom means being able to grow through struggle, building resilience, learning from pain, and emerging stronger. Nature's philosophy pushes us to embrace this process, to walk willingly into the fire of conflict, knowing it tempers and strengthens us much like steel. Carl Rogers, a renowned psychologist, emphasized this idea with his theory that genuine change happens when we confront conditions of worth and incongruence. It's during conflict that we often confront the gaps between who we are and who we want to become. That's where true growth lives. So next time you feel conflict brewing, ask yourself, how can this challenge help me grow? What can I learn from it? Changing your outlook transforms conflict from something to fear into something to embrace. I want you to affirm this in the comments. I grow stronger by facing conflict. Number 3. Conflict builds courage and assertiveness. Courage often gets portrayed as an epic act fighting in wars, heroic rescues, grand deeds. But real courage is found in the everyday moment, standing your ground, speaking your truth, and facing discomfort head-on. Nicola believed that courage is essential for freedom because it allows us to act on our own will, despite our fears. When you avoid conflict, you deny yourself the chance to practice that courage, that vital trait that affirms your autonomy. Holding back your opinions, setting boundaries, or defending your values in the face of opposition slowly erodes your self-respect and independence. Conversely, conflict is the training ground for courage. Every time you have a difficult conversation or confront a challenge, you exercise your assertiveness muscle. You learn that fear isn't a signal to retreat but a message to move through. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's concept of the will to power relates here not about domination, but about asserting your existence and values confidently and with strength. This inner power comes from within, cultivated by engaging with conflict instead of fleeing from it. Think about a time you spoke up despite feeling afraid, your heart pounding, hands trembling, voice fighting to be steady. That's real courage in action. With every act of assertiveness, you reinforce your freedom, taking back your voice and your choices. Psychology backs this up. People who develop assertiveness tend to have higher self-esteem, healthier relationships, and more control over their lives. On the other hand, those who habitually avoid conflict often experience frustration, resentment, and a gradual loss of their independence. So, if you want to be truly free, start cultivating courage through conflict. Begin small, disagree respectfully, say no when you need to, express your feelings honestly. Every act of bravery builds your capacity for freedom. Drop this in the comments. I build courage by facing conflict. Number 4. Conflict teaches the importance of embracing uncertainty. One of the biggest reasons people fear confrontation is uncertainty, unpredictable outcomes that come with disagreements. When conflicts break out, we don't know how others will respond or what consequences will follow. That unknown amplifies anxiety, and many prefer to cling to safety, avoiding conflict altogether. But nature understood that chaos and uncertainty are essential for growth. She said, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." Conflict is a form of chaos, unpredictable, uncomfortable, and often frightening. Yet it's also the spark for creativity, transformation, and new opportunities. To be truly free, you've got to get comfortable with uncertainty. That means accepting that you can't control every result, and some conflicts will be messy and unresolved for a while. It's in this space of not knowing that you learn flexibility, adaptability, and resilience. Think about relationships, whether personal or professional. Conflict inevitably introduces ambiguity about the future of the connection. If you cling tightly to control and certainty, you risk suppressing conflict and breeding resentment. But if you accept conflict as part of the process, you open the door to deeper understanding and authentic connection. Philosopher Søren Kierkegaard talked about the leap of faith idea that true freedom requires bold, uncertain steps without guarantees. Each difficult conversation or disagreement becomes a leap of faith in yourself and the process. Scientific studies show that those who accept uncertainty experience less stress, more creativity, and are more open to change. When you face conflict without insisting on certainty, you expand your freedom. You relinquish the illusion that life must be perfectly predictable to feel safe, and you learn to dance in the chaos, creating space for growth and new paths. So, the next time you're in conflict, remind yourself this uncertainty is part of your freedom. Lean into the unknown, trust your ability to navigate through it. Drop this affirmation: I embrace uncertainty to be free. Number 5. Conflict boosts emotional resilience. Conflict often stirs up intense emotions, anger, frustration, sadness, fear. It's natural to want to avoid those feelings, to run or hide when they come up. But nature's wisdom teaches us that emotional resilience is essential for freedom. Conflict is where that resilience is forged. When you face conflict directly, you're forced to confront and manage your emotions, rather than suppress or ignore them. Over time, this process builds emotional strength, allowing you to respond thoughtfully instead of impulsively. It's about regulating emotions so that you act with clarity and purpose, even under pressure. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, overman, embodies someone who has transcended their human limitations, including emotional once-be, mastering their inner world. Part of this mastery is understanding, accepting, and integrating your feelings, not denying them. Psychological research confirms that emotional resilience correlates with better mental health, stronger relationships, and a more satisfying life. When you develop this resilience, conflicts become less overwhelming, they become manageable, even opportunities for growth. For example, think about a disagreement at work. Instead of letting anger take over, emotional resilience helps you pause, understand your feelings, and choose a constructive response. That preserves your dignity and demonstrates maturity and strength. Building emotional resilience also means being vulnerable, accepting that discomfort and emotional upheaval are part of the process. Viktor Frankl once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Knowing your purpose and values makes you more tolerant of emotional pain, viewing it as part of a meaningful journey toward freedom. So, when emotional discomfort hits, don't shy away. Welcome it as an opportunity to fortify your inner armor. Each emotional challenge faced consciously deepens your freedom, freeing you from being controlled by your feelings. Number 6. Conflict as a path to genuine relationships and true connection. Many steer clear of conflict because they fear losing relationships or hurting loved ones. We've been conditioned to believe peace means avoiding disagreements, that conflict threatens our bonds. But nature reveals a different truth. Real freedom and authentic connection can only come through honesty and vulnerability, which often involve conflict. When you avoid conflict, you deny others the chance to truly know your authentic self. Instead of deep connection, you settle for superficial harmony, masking unresolved issues and unspoken needs, which over time create emotional distance and dissatisfaction. Genuine relationships are forged in honest expression, even when that means disagreement or tension. Nature believed in becoming who you are, which includes expressing your true thoughts and feelings. 7. If it risks friction. Authenticity equals freedom. Without the courage to face conflict, that freedom is impossible. Think about close friendships or romantic relationships where conflict is suppressed. Over time, this leads to unspoken resentments, unmet needs, and false pretenses that weaken the bond. But relationships that welcome honest conflict cultivate respect, trust, and mutual growth. Psychologist Brené Brown emphasizes that vulnerability, willingness to be seen fully, including our flaws and conflicts, is the foundation of real connection. Conflict, properly managed, offers a space for vulnerability where trust deepens and boundaries are clarified. It allows you to negotiate needs and limits honestly, preventing resentment and misunderstandings. Embracing conflict as part of the journey toward authenticity transforms fragile illusions into genuine, resilient bonds. When you learn to see conflict not as an enemy but as a tool for honesty, your relationships deepen and flourish. This kind of freedom to be your true self in your relationships enriches your life with a profound sense of belonging. So as a closing thought, remember, conflict isn't the opponent. It's a vital part of growth, understanding, and freedom. It's through conflict that we discover who we are, strengthen our courage, embrace uncertainty, build resilience, and forge authentic connections. The path to real freedom is not the absence of tension, but the willingness to meet it boldly, with awareness and open hearts. Starting today, make a conscious choice: don't run or hide. Lean into conflict, ask what it's teaching you, and use it as a stepping stone toward a life that's more truthful, more courageous, more free. Your freedom depends on it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose freedom by embracing conflict,